Ever had a great idea for an app and wondered, how does this actually get made? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on the magic behind it all, software project management.
So that journey from just a thought to a real working app, it's all powered by this incredible kind of hidden engine. We're talking about software project management. This is the process, the blueprint, the whole system that takes a simple idea and turns it into the software that honestly runs our lives now. So yeah, let's break it down.
Okay, first things first. Before we can manage a project, we kind of have to agree on what a project even is. And you might be surprised, especially when it comes to software, the definition is pretty specific. Okay, so think about it like this. If you're building a bridge, the plans are set in stone, right? You can't just add an extra lane halfway across the river. But software? That's a whole different ballgame. It's more like trying to build something out of clouds. It's not something you can physically touch, and the customer might change their mind about what they want all the time. That makes managing it, well, a really unique challenge.
So what's the difference between a project and just, your regular day-to-day work? Well, a project is unique. It's a one-off thing. It has a super specific goal, a definite start and a definite end, and you've only got so much time, money, and people to get it done. It's the total opposite of the routine stuff.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, because it applies to real life. Of course, building an airport is a project. That's a no-brainer. But look at this. Getting married? That's a project. Think about it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It has a clear goal, the wedding day, and a ton of planning. Now compare that to something like running university exams. That happens every semester. It's routine. It's not a project.
All right, so we've defined what a project is. Now, how do you actually make one happen without it all falling apart? Well, it all starts with a plan, a blueprint. Let's get into the art of making that plan.
Right, you've got this great idea, but we all know things go wrong. So, how do you plan for the stuff you can't see coming? The answer, of course, is a really solid plan. And I don't just mean a simple to-do list. A real plan involves estimating how much work it's actually going to take, trying to guess what could go wrong, and then building a detailed schedule that everyone can follow. It's the roadmap for the entire journey.
And this is what that roadmap can look like. This chart, for example, is for a website project. See how it breaks this huge, scary thing down into smaller, bite-sized pieces? Each bar shows you what needs to happen and exactly how long you have to do it. It takes you all the way from figuring out what's needed right through to launching the final product.
And this is why getting those time estimates right is so critical. Get it wrong and you're in trouble. If you guess too high, you're just burning through cash and your team gets lazy. But if you underestimate, and let's be honest, that's what usually happens, you're staring down the barrel of missed deadlines, a totally exhausted team, and yeah, the whole project could just fail.
So to deal with all that uncertainty, managers have some pretty clever tricks up their sleeve. A popular one is a technique called PERT. Now I know the formula on the screen looks a little scary, but the idea behind it is actually super simple. You basically take your best case guess, your worst case guess, and your most realistic guess, and you blend them all together. It gives you a much more balanced and hopefully accurate timeline.
And here's a huge step that happens before anyone even thinks about writing code. You've got to figure out if it's worth the money. It's a basic cost-benefit analysis. You have to ask the hard questions. Is this thing actually going to make us money? How long will it take to earn back what we spent? What's the return on investment? Because if the numbers don't work, the project is dead in the water before it even starts.
Okay, so the plan is solid, the numbers check out. Now it's time for the fun part, actually building the thing. We're moving from code to customer.
One of the classic ways to do this is called the waterfall model. And the name is perfect because just like a waterfall, everything flows downwards in one direction. You complete one phase and then you cascade down to the next.
And here's what that flow actually looks like. You figure out what the user needs, then you design it, then you code it. You see the pattern? It's a very logical step-by-step process. But here's the catch with waterfall. You absolutely cannot move on to the next step until the one you're on is totally 100% finished and signed off.
But you can probably guess that this super rigid one-way street doesn't work for everything. What if the customer changes their mind? That's why a lot of modern software development has moved to methods like Agile. Agile is the total opposite. It's all about being flexible. You work in these short, fast bursts, building a little bit of the software at a time, getting feedback, and then adapting. It's built for a world where change is the only constant.
You know, we can talk about plans and code and models all day, but that's really only half the battle. At the end of the day, a project is built by people for other people. And honestly, managing the human side of things is often the hardest part of the entire job.
And when we talk about people,
We use the term stakeholder. That's basically just a fancy word for anyone who has a stake in the project's success. It's the client who's footing the bill, the managers, the developers doing the actual work, and most importantly, the end users, the people who have to live with the finished product. And every single one of them sees the project differently and has their own unique struggles.
Let's start with the project managers. Man, these people are always in the hot seat. They're trying to juggle constantly changing demands from the client, they're stuck with a tight budget, and they're under this insane pressure to make sure all the different pieces of the puzzle come together perfectly and on time.
Then you've got the development team. They're the ones in the trenches, right? They're battling with new technology, working under crushing deadlines, and dealing with that sinking feeling when they have to scrap a week's worth of work because someone changed their mind about a feature.
And we absolutely cannot forget the end users. They're arguably the most important group. They're the ones who have to figure out how this new thing works. They might hate the change, get confused by the design, or just get plain angry when they run into bugs. At the end of the day, if they're not happy, the project wasn't a success.
Period. So after all of that, the planning, the coding, the stress, how do you actually measure if you succeeded?
Because real success isn't just about checking boxes, like did we finish on time or did we stay on budget? The real measure is effectiveness. Does the thing actually work for the person using it? Does it do what it's supposed to do? Is it quick? Does it make their life easier? That's what really matters.
And for the apps you and I use every day, you can literally feel this success. It's that instant search result on Amazon. It's watching your food delivery move in real time on a map. And of course, it's the classic Domino's pizza tracker. That little progress bar isn't just a gimmick. It's the perfect example of an effective feature that came from a well-run project.
So the next time you track your pizza or watch your package make its way to your door, maybe you'll see it a little differently. Not just as a cool feature, but as the final product of a long,